What's up, YouTube? How do you like my title there? Is rock becoming the new jazz? I'll tell you why I asked this question. The other night, I was doing a live stream and on my second channel, and somebody had told me that a video that I had done by Yes, What Makes This Sound Great, with the tune Roundabout, had been blocked by YouTube, which is really weird. It's never happened before. Months after, honestly. The video had 200 and some odd thousand, hey Brett, views, and it was blocked. And I thought about it, and you guys that have been watching my channel for a long time know my feelings on blockers. And I went, during the live stream, I started looking at my analytics for that particular song. And I've done this before to see who these videos that I do, that I make, like What Makes a Song Great, who do they appeal to? For example, my Steely Dan videos, you know, what is the audience it appeals to? Well, obviously these things appeal. Steely Dan appeals typically to people from, that demographic would be 45 to 54, you know, or maybe it's 54 to I think it's 45 to 54, that particular demographic. I'm actually going to look it up right now while I'm talking here. And then the Yes video is the same thing. Well, you figure, okay, Yes Roundabout came out in 1972. So who's it going to appeal to? It's going to appeal to people my age. I'm 56. So I started thinking about this, and I started looking at things like Spotify plays, for example, because I'm thinking, why are these bands blocking? Let's get down to this. I mean, it's obvious that that all the bands that block are hugely successful rock bands. Okay, they're pretty much mainly rock bands. Okay, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Eagles, obviously Yes, Pink Floyd. If you go to their YouTube channel, you'll see a couple of videos maybe with people that have very few subscribers, might have a video that they uploaded 8 years ago. You'll see stuff like that on there. You will not see any videos, current videos. When I'm looking for video footage for some of the episodes I've done, for example, Pink Floyd, there's nothing other than stuff on the Pink Floyd channel. You cannot find a video of David Gilmour. For those of you that like Pink Floyd, you can't find any videos of him just playing the guitar. You can see Eric Clapton playing some licks, talking and everything, but these blocker bands, there is nothing that's not sanctioned by the groups. So I started thinking, talking to my friends about this, and I really believe that in 50 years, rock will be studied like jazz is nowadays. That's what it's going to be like. And just like with jazz, just like with classical music, I mean, if you think about classical music, what is really being studied at conservatories? Well, you have Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Brahms, you know, you have all the Haydn, you know, what are really studied? You have Chopin, you have Liszt, you have Rachmaninoff, you have Prokofiev, you have Barber, you have Bartok, you have, you have all these classical composers that are being studied, but there were thousands and thousands of classical composers, even during Bach's lifetime. You know, history has its way of just eliminating all these people that are not important. And the same thing will happen with hip hop and rap, the exact same thing. And it's only going to be who are the couple people from those style periods that are remembered. I mean, if you think of the Impressionistic era, well, were Debussy and Ravel the only two composers that composed like that? You know, of course not. You know, during the Baroque era, was Bach, was Handel, was Monteverdi? I mean, who was around? You know, who are the people that are remembered? Very few people are remembered from these genres. So I start looking at actual analytics of things like Roundabout. So I go to Spotify and I say, okay, how many plays does Roundabout have on Spotify? I'm looking at it right now. It has 24,834,000 plays. Okay. All right, well, let's do a comparison. Let's say, what about Oasis, okay? So I open up Oasis, a more current band, but is Oasis bigger than Yes? I don't think so. And I look at Wonderwall. Well, I know Wonderwall has one of the biggest played songs on Spotify, 518 million. Okay? How many times is that? That's a lot of times. It's more than 10 times, right? 10 times would be 200 million, 20 times would be 400 million. It's 25 times more, 26 times more than Roundabout, okay? So, by the way, before I forget, because I always forget to tell you, even though Mac has said that, Beato Books on sale, 20% off today, 461 pages of knowledge that, you know, everything you need to know about music theory, but we're not afraid to ask. It starts right at the beginning, and it basically funds this channel, essentially, since everything gets, since half of my videos get demonetized, most of my videos, the ones that people watch too. You can't teach about music without playing music. Anyway, so why Yes? Why The Who? I'm going to look up The Who now, for example. Somebody asked, is The Who a blocker? Okay, and here we go, The Who. Well, you know what their biggest song is going to be. It's going to be Baba O'Riley. I haven't even opened it up, but I know it is, Baba O'Riley. 138 million plays. Well, 138 million plays. Roundabout was 20 million plays. Oasis was 500 million plays. Why is that? Well, the reason is the same reason that in my analytics, Steely Dan, almost 40% of the people that watch the Steely Dan video are above 45, okay? Now, same thing with Yes. Those people are even older. Well, they're about the same age. It's actually not even 45. That demographic is 54 to it's 55 to 64 is that demographic. That's both of those are what it is. So what happens in 10 years as these people age to the next demographic level? Because the people at 18 to 24, none of them are watching my videos on Steely Dan. Ariana Grande, those people that are 45 to 54 are not watching my Ariana Grande video or my Adele video, okay? That's 18 to 24, 24 to 35. So these, because of the blocking and people in groups and record labels limiting access to young people for listening to music, what it's doing, it's creating this effect where there's no sharing of music. If you think back to when Napster happened, or when people were making mixtapes, even when people were sharing Dead concerts or people were sharing Fish concerts, that was a time people sharing music. It wasn't the bands, the smart bands back then, like Fish and the Dead, knew that was just helping promote them. They knew it. They instinctively knew that people came to their shows. They encouraged them to tape. So as these people age out, in 10 years, those people, the 25 to 34 people, are going to be the 35 to 44 people. But the people that are listening to Roundabout and Steely Dan, those people are gone. They're either not alive, or in 20 years, many of them will not even be alive. So what's going to happen then? Who's going to replace those listeners? It's going to happen with the Beatles too. It is. It's going to happen. And eventually, there will be academics. 50 years from now, I'll be long gone, but my kids will be around, and there will be academics. My kids' kids will go to college for music, and you'll study. Oh, I got a degree in rock performance or in rock history. That's what it'll be. And people will write dissertations on rock music, and they'll talk about Motown. They'll talk about Dr. Dre and the Chronic. They'll talk about Nevermind, Nirvana. They'll talk about the influence of Zeppelin 1. They'll talk about Rubber Soul and Revolver and things like that. They'll talk about Who's Next. They'll pick one record from those. The Who is going to be Haydn, okay? The Beatles are Bach. Well, you can do it in your head. You can already figure out who these people are. Beethoven, Led Zeppelin. Franz Liszt is Michael Jackson, or maybe Paganini's Michael Jackson, right? These people are all, these people will all have occupy their same place. Now, Lucid, I think, says it's not going to happen, Pete Townsend one-on-one. This is the interesting thing. This is the difference actually between classical music and rock and jazz. Because jazz used to be the popular music form, okay? When my parents were kids in the 1940s, jazz was on the radio. Instrumental music, vocal music, but jazz. That was it. That's what people listened to. And jazz got usurped by rock in the 50s. Once Elvis came out, goodbye jazz. Nobody wanted to hear it anymore. And then jazz started to lose its popularity when I was in college in 86. I mean, it was probably the height of its popularity was in the 70s. And then it started to dissipate. And the median age of the jazz listener in 1986 was 24. In 2012, it's 46. Well, that's because it's the same people. All right. If you go out and see a jazz gig, when I saw Pat Metheny play, I took Dylan to see him play last year. There was no one under 50 there. Why? Well, one of the reasons is that Pat doesn't allow anyone to put any of his videos on YouTube. I tried to find a contemporary video of Pat Metheny to take a small 3-second clip of to show Pat Metheny in 1980 or 78, whatever, and then in 2016. But there was one video, and it was a sanctioned video by him, and it's happening to him as well. No, my son is 11. He was 10 at the time. He looked around the audience. I said, Dylan, he's got good eyesight. I said, Dylan, is there anyone that's your age here? He says, no. He says, everybody here is your age because everybody had white hair. So I'm not saying that everything in rock music or rock is dead. I'm saying that in 50 years, the things that you will think last, I will predict, and I don't like to predict things on here, but all you have to do is use history to make your point here, is to say, who survived from the Baroque era, who survived from the classical era, the Romantic era, the Impressionistic era, the 20th century music? Very few people. Most people, if you go to see a modern music, a concert of modern music, an orchestral concert, what are you going to have? You're going to have Stravinsky, you're going to have Copland, you're going to have Prokofiev, you're going to have Shostakovich, you're going to have Schoenberg, maybe you're going to have Berg, maybe Webern, probably not, because they don't want people to walk out. I love Webern. But that's pretty much it. You might see Samuel Barber, you might see some Bernstein, maybe. But typically, orchestras that want to sell tickets are going to play the standards if they're going to play 20th century music. But usually, they don't even like to play 20th century music. They're going to want to play, like the last concert I went to, the Atlanta Symphony, my son's oboe teacher was playing. They started out with the Prokofiev Classical Symphony, which is essentially a symphony that sounds like it was written in the classical era, but with some modern harmonic language. Modern, not modern really, but not the kind of harmonic movement, meaning chordal movement that you had in the classical era. And then they did the Mozart Oboe Concerto, and they did Beethoven's Second Symphony. That was it. Okay? They weren't going to put some, Schoenberg on with the Mozart Oboe Concerto and with Prokofiev's Classical Symphony. So a few artists survive. Well, the same thing will happen, which is one of the reasons I'm trying to do these history of rock, history of blues, history of jazz, history of this. I see Zappa will be remembered. Well, if you talk to Dweezil, which I have, even Dweezil has trouble with his siblings who control, and this isn't me saying anything. This is out there for public consumption, that he's fighting to get the rights to even name his band Zappa, right? To even use his name. I can't do Frank Zappa videos because they control the name so tightly. Jimi Hendrix, once again, they control it tightly. Well, who's going to listen to Jimi Hendrix? Really, people are going to listen to younger players that are freer with their music. Okay? Jimi Hendrix will be taught in the academies, though. I believe that. You know, Queen will be taught in music conservatories. But they will be taught, these will be fringe degrees, you know? They will be fringe degrees. And the people that survive from hip hop, you know, Eminem, will Eminem survive? You know, will Jay-Z? Mac, who's going to survive in from hip hop?
It's a good question. There's a lot of guys right now. You say Kanye might.
Kanye might.
Popularity. Let's see.
I don't think Kanye will, but
It's hard to say right now. There's so much.
it's hard to say because you don't have enough distance on it.
Right.
But you have to look back historically and say, okay, well, who are the people that have made it from the 80s? Who are the people that are still important from the 80s in rap and hip hop?
Shoot, right now, probably nobody.
Probably nobody. How about the
At
90s?
least nobody alive.
How about the no, but I'm saying that people that are whose music is still popular. What about Tupac?
But you get Tupac, Biggie.
Tupac, Biggie, right?
I mean, well, you got guys like Kendrick Lamar even today. Kendrick is definitely going to be around for a while.
Yeah, so there are people. Now, we don't know because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 20 years, who the artists are. Maybe there's going to be artists that totally eclipse them, that 100 years from now are the ones they're going to talk about. But I see there, PJ says there's too many variables to make a valid comparison. Well, rock has been around for 50 years. And this particular talk is really about rock, right? Is rock is rock becoming the new jazz? And what that means is rock music going by way of the music conservatory, because essentially jazz has become music for musicians. It was not always that way. Please define rock. If I have to define rock, then if you don't know what rock music is, what qualifies as rock anymore? Okay, Led Zeppelin, how's that? Nirvana, The Who, The Beatles, The Rolling Stones. You know, you got rock music. Periphery, Animals as Leaders, stuff with distorted guitar is rock. Chuck Berry, you know, even stuff without distorted guitar is rock. Radiohead, Maroon 5. You know, I mean, there's plenty of rock out there. Leonard Skinner, Rock is Overdrive. Gent, Floyd will be taught. Tom Petty, I believe Floyd and Tom Petty will be taught. The Red Hot Chili Peppers. If you have to look back and you have to see what the impact of the bands are, and will they outlast? You know, are any groups fading, or is actually this culling of this already begun to happen? Has it begun to happen from the 60s? I mean, have all the groups? Obviously, there were a lot of groups in the 60s. Watch my video on the guitar of the 1970s, okay? If you look at it and you start thinking about how many guitar players people really know on there, those of you that are guitar players, were there people you'd never heard of on there? Because everybody that was on there, I had heard of because I lived through the 70s. I knew every one of those players and people that I didn't even put in the videos yet, that were great players and players that I really loved. That people reminded me all the time that I forgot to put in there. So my point here is that that I believe that rock, because of the how tightly held these record labels are with their content, blocking things on YouTube. I mean, it's really shocking that you can't go and find anything on Pink Floyd. Nothing on there. Go and look. Go and find stuff on the Beatles. You can find stuff on the Beatles, but it's all been sanctioned by Capitol Records. You know, it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. The bands that are not that have not been protective of their catalog, the people that don't block, and this isn't about me, but I'm making a an educated guess by looking at the demographics of the people that watch particular videos. I have a pretty wide demographic on this channel with almost 500,000 people. I can use Spotify. I mean, I can type the Beatles into Spotify. The Beatles haven't been in Spotify as long as Oasis. So some of the and the Beatles are already being taught in universities. That's true because they've been around for 60 years now, 50 years. Clay says, Rick, do you think there's a financial win for blocking? No, I do not. I don't see any financial win for blocking. I really don't. I see that people, I see it in the jazz artists, that people like Matheny, I don't know why I keep coming back to Matheny, but it's unbelievable that a jazz musician, to me, would not allow his music, his live performances to be put on YouTube for people to learn what an experience of going to a concert is like. I think it's completely absurd. I think it's absurd that I cannot find one clip of David Gilmour playing. Find me a clip. Somebody send me a clip of David Gilmour playing a still shot of David Gilmour in the 70s, or not a still shot, where something from somebody from a concert somewhere. Send it to me. Email me, please, because I'd like to see it, because I looked. What is the opposite, Clay says, the financial win for not blocking? I think that the financial win is there's not money to be gained from these things. The amount of views are so minuscule that it's not going to do anything to these people's. It's not going to do anything for them. Matt, can you look up? Let's see here. I'm going to look up, for example. I'm going to look up the official video for Roundabout. Let me see how many views it has on YouTube. Okay, so this is the Roundabout. Yes, there we go. Let's see here. Okay, so their official video has 35 million views. Okay, so 35 million. It's about $1,200 per million. So how much money is that? It's been up there for 7 years. So $1,200, so $35,000. That's generated. We'll be generous. $50,000 over the course of 7 years being on there. That one song has generated $50,000 for let's say the two writers, it's Steve Howe and John Anderson, own the song. Let's say they own their own publishing, which I'm sure they don't for that. But if they do, maybe they do. If they do, that's their YouTube. That's their money that they're gaining from 7 years of plays on YouTube. 50 grand. Divide that by 7. What's 50 divided by 7? It's not much money for them. People that are, that made millions of dollars 50 years ago. Let's say that the label's getting a cut of that. Maybe the label's getting half of that money. Maybe the label's getting all the money. Well, it's all about exposure. That's the thing, is $7,000. I mean, $7,000 a year for that one song, right? And if you go back and look, the money that they made from radio airplay, nowadays a hit song, a number one song, is worth about $1 million in airplay. Okay, that's on terrestrial radio from BMI or ASCAP. That's a rule of thumb. 1 million sales is worth about $1 million in mechanical royalties, and a number one song is worth, a top 5 song on pop radio, if it's a top 5 song and is on the charts for, I don't know, let's say 20 weeks or something like that, is worth about $1 million in royalties. That's why when Pharrell was when they were sued for Blurred Lines, they asked for 7.5. I think they won $7.5 million. That's probably the amount of money that song made I would imagine that's probably the amount of money. It was a massive worldwide hit, so you got money coming in from everywhere, but it probably made about that much money in profit. So, but for these old bands that are not selling anything, they're not selling anything, and they're getting paid nothing from YouTube and from Spotify and from Pandora and from iTunes. They're you know, compared to what they used to make, it's you know, that's it. There's a Floyd and Zappa collaboration on YouTube 1969. Is there a good thing of David Gilmour playing that doesn't have some weird psychedelic effect on it where you can actually see him? Surely somebody videotaped or with a film and a recorder has video of Pink Floyd. Echoes live at Pompeii. There's no unsanctioned videos of Pink Floyd on there. So anyway, 16 millimeter. Okay, Frampton, if that's true, how come Frampton got $1,700 from 55 million streams of Baby I Love Your Way? I assume you're saying when it's terrestrial radio, why? Okay, is that what you're saying? Or streams? Because I'm talking YouTube money here versus streams. I know from having, I owned a fifth of a song that was streamed 37 million times in one quarter. And my cut of it was $325. So extrapolate that. I was 1/5 of that. So $1,600, 37 million plays, paid $1,500. That's YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, all put together. That's how much it paid. I'll show you I'll show you my royalty statement. It's unbelievable. I was stunned from it. I mean, you guys can see, you guys see these stories all the time. Show us. Well, I'd have to go find it, but that's it. You know, that's it. Up until 2005 or so, you know, this is not me giving away any secrets. Producers make 3 points, 3 percentage points. 3 percentage points typically, 3 percentage points equals, for a producer from sales back then would equal about $300,000 per million. So it would take a triple platinum record for a producer to make $1 million. But out of that, they're going to pay their producer manager 15%, maybe 20%. So they're going to need to sell 4 million records to make $1 million. So if you go back and look at producers from the 90s, you can have an idea how much money they made. Now, certain producers that would do production deals with people, you know, if Dr. Dre had signed Eminem, I believe, right? Is that true, Mac? He was signed to his label. So Dr. Dre made, I would imagine, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine that he made half of, that Eminem made 50% of the money and Dr. Dre made the other 50% of the money. And 50 Cent, I mean, Dr. Dre is a billionaire. He's got to be by now. With Beats headphones and everything, he's a billionaire.
Absolutely.
Billion with a B. Because not only was he making smart deals as a signing people to production deals that became massive stars, he started Beats headphones.
Thanks to his NWA experience.
Exactly. So anyways, that deal includes Jimmy Iovine. It does include Jimmy Iovine, but I think they did it for over $3 billion. So Dr. Dre's net worth is estimated $830 million. Okay, well, there you go. Close enough. He's not missing any meals, okay? So there you go. That's in a nutshell. That I know I diverge, and I'm going to go plug the Beato book one more time. And the Beato Club, by the way, those of you that own my book and you want to support this channel, you believe in what I'm doing, you should think about joining the Beato Club. It's basically like our version of Patreon. It's a way to support the channel and you know, help me do some more exciting things. I'm trying to plan a trip to England right now. I'm definitely going to Germany for GitCon 2018, which is awesome because I just found out yesterday some of the people that are going to be there, like Adam Neely is going to be there with me, or I'm going to be there with Adam, and Pete Thorne is going to be there, and I'm going to make videos with all these guys. But I'm going to go to England. I want to go to Abbey Road Studios. I want to do a video I talked to Christian from Spitfire Audio, who's one of the owners, and he invited me there to come and see the Spitfire setup. They make the best string libraries, orchestral libraries out there. Anyway, so Beato Club is going to, that's the kind of things that's going to help, you know, that it helps make up for the money that I don't make because all my biggest videos are demonetized. I'm going to go visit Anderton's too. And yeah, Christian Henson's channel is great. Those of you that don't know him, he owns Spitfire Audio, and I love his channel. It's really, he's been doing it for a couple of years now, and he makes great videos. Anyways, all right, so you guys are the best. I'm going to try it. I'd like to do something in Berlin there when I'm in, I'd love to do a masterclass in Berlin one day while I'm going to spend a couple days after my, GitCon. So anybody that's from Germany that wants to help set up some type of a clinic or something for me, email me. Let me know. You guys are the best. Beato Book 20% off. The discount code is RB824. You guys are awesome. Thanks.